develop and grow.
So, if you've felt like the previous bit of the episode has been doom and gloom, certainly on the coronavirus piece, this is the point of the podcast where you can actually listen in, and this is ultimately where we look to ourselves and how we can feel better and manage with the things that we're going through and improve ourselves and improve our lives. So, those listeners who are watching on YouTube will be really happy to know that for the first time in history, I've brought a prop along today.
I love it, Chad. I love it.
So this prop is a book, and it is called The Life Plan. It's by a life coach by Shannah Kennedy. This book and the design that I just showed you on the screen is a Kiki K limited edition design. So any other book you'll see might look different on the cover, but obviously the substance of what's inside will be the same. And to be completely honest, this is a book that I've been working my way through for some time. I'm only probably 40% of the way through. And what's great about it is it's a book. Obviously, there are pieces of narrative and guidance and all of that kind of stuff. But ultimately, what differentiates it is that there are sections for you to fill stuff in. So this is a life guidance book, if you'd like. And so in every couple of pages, there's a few activities that you need to do. And ultimately, there's a lot of thought work that you need to do. So this is not a book that you're going to pick up and sort of read through on your downtime. It's going to take you quite a long time to get through because there's some introspection that is required on the back of this, which is why I think it's so worthwhile. So in terms of the journey that I've taken so far on my 40% of the book, we sort of started off by looking at where you are now. Looking back at the key events that have happened in your life to shape you as who you are at the moment, and then kind of moved from there to looking at your values, to what is your purpose, what is it that drives you, ultimately to set a sort of decision-making framework from which you now know the 2 or 3 things that should guide your decisions going forward. And so there's been a lot of that. We've looked at habits and decluttering, simplifying your life, all of those types of things. And where we're at the moment, which is really what I wanted to chat about on the podcast, was a 3-year life plan. So this is obviously, as its description says, it's a 3-year life plan. I really liked the 3-year format of this because typically we go to an interview and somebody will ask what our plan is for the next 5 years. Otherwise, we'll set our goals annually and we'll literally look at the year ahead. But what I like about 3 years, which I haven't really heard in this format, is it's that perfect kind of distance. It's not too far away that we feel like we're talking about fiction, and it's also not too close where we think things are not reasonable or realistic. And so here are some of the guidelines for this. I took about 2 hours to do this, funnily enough. She sort of suggests you take about an hour to do it, but here are some of the guidelines. You start off by writing down your age on a blank piece of paper, your age in 3 years' time. And that's quite a powerful thing because immediately you're setting yourself up for what it would feel like to be that age, what it is that you expect to have done by that age, etc., etc. Additionally, write down the age of family members as well, and give yourself permission to let go for this next hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, however long it takes. You take all your worries and doubts and put them to one side and dream that if everything went as it could, what would my life look like in 3 years' time? And this dream is unedited by any lack of potential money, skills, or time. And so, you ultimately need to get specific with it. Where is it that you're going to be working? Who are you going to be spending your time with? What is it that you're going to be doing in your spare time? And what are you going to be earning in a very specific amount of money? So you ultimately are really getting really specific about the things that you really want to achieve and what you really want your life to look like in 3 years' time. And for me, I left this, I had a lot of fun in the process, and I left it just feeling really grateful for where I am at the moment. And I left it with a clear vision, ultimately, of where I want to go, which I thought was fantastic. I thought it was really, really valuable. I've done obviously a lot of self-help stuff in the past, but what I really like about this book is that it forces you to write stuff down. For the YouTube viewers again, is it actually leaves you spaces to write stuff in. So yeah, certainly one that I think is worthwhile checking out, especially given we're going to be having a lot more time on our hands, Barry.
Yeah, I think it's a perfect time for these sorts of things. I think we can have a lot of time to ourselves, a lot of time to think about our lives from a more objective and third-party perspective. And these sorts of guided journeys are really valuable. It really does sound cool, Chad. some of the things that I picked up from what you were saying, the first piece is that I think it is interesting that a 3-year plan is a bit different to what you normally see around the place. It kind of reminds me of a quote. I can't remember who it is, and I'm going to paraphrase it. But the idea is that we overestimate what we can achieve in a day, but underestimate what we can achieve in a decade. And talking about the fact that when we setting goals, is often that the time frame is very important, and a 3-year time frame feels to me to be the best of both those worlds, because it's long enough to actually like see genuine progress in a certain task or a certain habit or a certain way of life, but it's also not so far away that it feels like science fiction. And so that's a really cool time frame. I think is a cool thing to do. The second piece I also think is interesting, is, like you say, is think of yourself at a certain age. I think it's hard to think, cool, in 5 years' time, what will my life look like? Whereas if I think about my 30-year-old self or my 40-year-old self, immediately an image comes to mind, because for some reason, just that age number allows me to form an image and an idea of what my life might look like at that point. So it's a great little device to force you to be more specific and more direct with what you want for that kind of period of your life. And so I think it sounds amazing. I think that these things are very valuable, these guided journeys, to try and help you with introspection, help you look at your life more realistically and more honestly. And it really is this kind of internal work that downtime is so valuable for. So I'd encourage anyone listening right now to use this time productively. Don't just sit for the next 21 days on Netflix, right? Like, obviously a little bit of Netflix is good enough, but really use this time to think carefully about your life plan, where you're trying to go, and why you're trying to get there. That's really important. One more thing I think might be good to add here is a parable that I heard that I think is quite interesting. And it talks about ladders and houses, right? So, Chad, if you imagine that you're climbing some sort of corporate ladder or some sort of life ladder, often we're so busy climbing that ladder that by the time we get to the top of it, we look out and we realize, oh wait, this is on the wrong house. I actually wanted to be on that house. I wanted to be on that house, right? Yeah. And so it's important in these times to be able to look at, is our ladder leaning against the right house? Or do we need to backtrack and change our life plan? And we don't often get these opportunities to check which ladder we're on, because we're often so deep in the nitty-gritty and in the dirty work of day-to-day life. And this 21-day lockdown for most of us should be that opportunity to step back from our lives, to look at it more objectively, and make sure our ladder is on the right house.
Absolutely. That's such a great analogy. I really love it. And you're right. It's the right time for that. So let's certainly do that thought work. If any of you do pick this up and actually do try these exercises, let us know what you think. Ultimately, this is a activity book for adults, and I think a really important one.
Across the pond with Barry and Chad.